Okay, today we will discuss topic that is spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis. What spermatogenesis means? It is it is process of formation of gametes. It is formation of gametes in males. Okay, formation of it is formation of gametes in males. Formation of gametes in males. That is sperm formation. That is sperm formation. Sperm formation is actually called what? Sperm formation is called spermatogenesis. Okay. Now we have to see how this process of spermatogenesis occurs. Okay. As we know, gamete formation occurs by cell division called meiosis. Gamete formation occurs by cell division called meiosis. Okay. But this spermatogenesis obviously, okay, formation of gametes is there, formation of these sperms also occurs by meiosis, that is reductional division. As we know, gametes, we will discuss this spermatogenesis with reference to humans obviously, okay. In case of humans, as we know, there is 2n number is equal to 46, okay, we have 46 number of chromosomes, and in sperms there is how many chromosomes? In sperms there is 23 chromosomes. Okay, in sperms there is 23 chromosomes, and this spermatogenesis occurs in three steps actually. Obviously, the two steps are those steps which is by meiosis. But before meiosis, actually, when a human male reaches to pubic age, as we know, spermatogenesis starts from when a person reaches to pubic age, when a human male reaches to pubic age, under the influence of a male sex hormones, mainly testosterone, under the influence of male sex hormones, mainly testosterone, this process of spermatogenesis starts. Okay, what happens in spermatogenesis? As we know, the functional unit of testes is seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules. Seminiferous tubules. As we know, these are present in testes. These tubular structures are present in testes, and these seminiferous tubules act as functional units of testes. That means the sperms are formed in these seminiferous tubules. Now we have to see how simply this process of spermatogenesis occurs. This process of spermatogenesis actually occurs in three steps. The first step is multiplication phase. The first step is called what? Multiplication phase. What happens in multiplication phase? Actually, the cell is present in these seminiferous tubules called what? Called sperm mother cells, called sperm mother cells or spermatogonia. Sperm mother cells we can call them, or spermatogonia. These sperm mother cells or spermatogonia, these super mother cells or spermatogonia actually starts dividing by mitosis. As I already told, formation of gametes occurs by meiosis. But before start of meiosis, what happens? Those cells which are present in these seminiferous tubules, these cells present in seminiferous tubules actually first divides by mitosis. First divides by mitosis. This multiplication phase, this first phase, multiplication phase occurs by mitosis. Okay, these cells, sperm mother cells or spermatogonia cells, divides in number, and their number they increase in number. Okay, hugely they increase in their number by this phase, mitosis phase, and this phase is called multiplication phase. Now we can say those cells which are actually formed by this multiplication, among these cells we can make it very simple like this. Some cells we can call A cells and some cells we can call B cells. Okay, when number of cells increases, these sperm mother cells increases, some cells actually take a different path. We can say them, let us suppose we can say them B cells. Okay, now these B cells, instead of dividing again by this process of mitosis, they start as now meiosis. Actually, these type B cells which I am calling now type B cells, actually enters into meiosis, and they actually form as what? Gametes. And the type A cells continuously divides by the process of mitosis. As we know, there are millions of sperms formed continuously in human testes in these seminiferous tubules, okay? And those cells which actually, the number of cells, these cells actually occurs by mitosis, and those cells are called spermatogonia cells or sperm mother cells. And that phase, the division of these cells when occurs by mitosis, and that phase is called what? Multiplication phase, okay? Now I told you that we can divide these cells which actually form out by multiplication phase, type A cells and type B cells. Type A cells, let us suppose, divides continuously by mitosis, but type B cells, instead of what? Dividing by mitosis, they enters into meiosis, okay? When they enters into meiosis, okay, as we know, meiosis is divided into two steps, meiosis first and meiosis second. Now obviously these cells, these have what? These have how number of chromosomes? Obviously if it is a human cell, they have 46 chromosomes, okay? When they enters into meiosis, first what happens? They grows in size, okay? They grows in size, and that is called growth phase. The second phase, we can say, the second phase is growth phase. The second phase is growth phase. Now these cells, these type B cells, which enters into actually growth phase, which now when they proceed, they will change into gametes. Those second phase is growth phase. And now those cells which actually enters into the growth phase is called what? Is called, now those cells which are in growth phase, even though still the chromosome number is 46, they are still diploid, they are called spermatocytes, or we can say they are called primary spermatocytes. They are called primary spermatocytes, okay? Primary spermatocytes. So cells enters into the growth phase, changes into what? Changes into primary spermatocytes. But one important point which we have to remember, the chromosome number is still 46. In case of humans, they are still diploid cells, okay? And this process is called spermatocytogenesis. Cytogenesis. Growing in size of these cells, type B cells, is called what? Spermatocytogenesis, and these cells are called primary spermatocytes. Now these primary spermatocytes enters into, we can say, meiosis first, or we can say now meiosis first will occur, okay? As we know, meiosis occurs in two phases, meiosis first and meiosis second. Now these primary spermatocytes divides by meiosis first, okay? Meiosis first. On dividing meiosis by meiosis first, as we know, meiosis first is actually a reductional division. If it is a human cell, if it is a primary spermatocyte, it has 46 chromosome number, but when it divides by meiosis first, okay, the reductional division, they will change into secondary spermatocytes. They will change into secondary spermatocytes. They will change into secondary spermatocytes. Now important point here is, these secondary spermatocytes have obviously now haploid chromosomes. They have n number of chromosomes, and obviously in case of human beings, their chromosome number will be 23, okay? Now when these spermatocytes are formed, secondary spermatocytes, as we know, after meiosis, the important thing is cells never remain when the meiosis first occurs, okay? Always meiosis second occurs. In cells where there is meiosis first, meiosis second obviously occurs. So these are haploid cells, but as we know, primary spermatocytes are haploid cells, or the cells which are formed after meiosis first are haploid cells, but they are not true haploid cells. They have double DNA content. So to form gametes or true haploid cells, are in gametes there will always be haploid cells, true haploid cells. They will enter into meiosis second. We can say meiosis second will occur into these cells. Obviously both these cells which are formed after the meiosis first, and both these two cells will form two cells again, okay, and this obviously will happen by meiosis second. And now the cells formed after meiosis second are called supermatids. They are called what? Supermatids. They are called supermatids. And obviously, how many supermatids will be formed? From single sperm mother cell, there will be 4 haploid supermatids. These supermatids also have haploid number of chromosomes. What is the difference between secondary spermatocytes and supermatids? Secondary spermatocytes are also haploid, but they are not true haploid cells. Supermatids are now true haploid cells, and all these things occurs where? In seminiferous tubules. Now these seminiferous tubules, okay, they change morphologically actually. They are settled in seminiferous tubules. These supermatids now change morphologically and form sperm. Sperm, or this structure now formed is called sperm or spermatozoa. Spermatozoa. Now this structure formed is called sperm or spermatozoa. For change of supermatid into spermatozoa is called supermiogenesis. Is called supermiogenesis. Whole process is called whole process of formation of gamete or male gamete sperm is called spermatogenesis, and changing of supermatid into spermatozoa, it is called what? It is called supermiogenesis. Okay, when these spermatozoa or sperms are formed in seminiferous tubules, as we know, seminiferous tubules are tubular structures. These sperms are synthesized in the wall of the seminiferous tubules. Now these sperms formed in the wall of seminiferous tubule is released into the lumen of seminiferous tubule, and the release of sperm into lumen of seminiferous tubule is called supermeation. That is called what? That is called supermeation. So, and finally, now when the sperm is into the lumen of this seminiferous tubule, now there are ducts. First intratesticular ducts, then intertesticular ducts, and obviously the secretion of various glands will add into the way, and finally these sperms are released in the form of ejaculation. Okay, so we can say there are steps in spermatogenesis. What are those steps? Multiplication phase, then growth phase, and obviously after growth phase, when primary spermatocytes changes into the secondary spermatocytes, and this all processes which starts from meiosis first, it is called what? It is called maturation phase. It is called what? Maturation phase. Maturation phase, we can say 3 phases. In multiplication phase, number of these cells increases, okay, by simply mitosis. Then there is growth phase, okay. Type B cells, as I told, type B cells actually enters into the process of gamete formation, and those type A cells continuously divide and continuously keeps number of the sperm mother cells high, okay. And after growth phase, the cell there is maturation phase, okay. These primary spermatocytes which actually formed after growth phase by the process of spermatocytogenesis divides by meiosis first into secondary spermatocytes, and these secondary spermatocytes then changes into supermatids by meiosis second, and after meiosis second they will take a special shape. Special shape, as we say, supermatids are also haploid cells, true haploid cells, but they are round in shape. They doesn't have a shape of sperm, but change of these supermatids into a particular shape, that is into the shape of sperm or spermatozoa, as we know, or we will discuss further. We will discuss it at this spermatozoa is tadpole shaped. Change of the supermatid into spermatozoa is called supermiogenesis, okay. And finally, when the sperms are formed in the wall of this seminiferous tubules, they are then released from there into the lumen of seminiferous tubules, and the release of the spermatozoa into the lumen of seminiferous tubules is called what? Is called supermeation. and finally these sperms moves forward by ducts, whether those are intratesticular ducts and then intertesticular ducts.